Good morning, everybody. John Sfiocla here for GAI Insights, bringing you thoughts in your head and time in your day. We got Alden Do Rosario, the founder of CustomGPT.ai. Good to have you, Alden. Welcome. Good morning.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
And we have Luda Kopakina and Paul Meyer. All right. If you want to follow along with the articles, go to GAIinsights.com/articles. Also, please like and subscribe on our channel. So, can we go to the first article, please? All right, we've got Cloud Opus 4.6, a big new launch here. Lots just came out yesterday, I think, right, or the day before. What do you think here, Luda?
I think it's essential news. So they are pushing the prior platform to the next level, and they claim they've built it mostly with 4.5.
Yeah.
And it actually pushes the coding skills. It experiments with the 1 million context window. It reiterates and does adjustments if needed to get better quality. So the debugging skills are much better. So they talk through and there are metrics in here showing that it's really at the next level. I think it's essential news for everybody. And it's also integrated with the tools, with the co-work, right, with Excel, and now they're working with PPT. So they're going at the whole layer of productivity.
Yeah, I mean, just a whole new level of capability. What do you think, Alden?
100% essential. And having lived inside Claude Code for the last 60 days, literally, like, Claude Code is now 100x my Netflix consumption. So 100%. And the thing that they have fixed, the things that they are fixing are based on all the problems we've been having, like, me and a million other like guys who are living inside Claude Code these days. So, better management of teams, better context management, like context compaction, all of the things that really bother you, like when dealing with Claude Code, they are fixing it just from the sheer data that they are getting. And the last item, like you saw, even the adaptive thinking that they release. Like, I got sick and tired of telling Claude Code, like, please ultra think about this, and now they just know like how much to think about it. So,
yes.
Oh, right. I didn't mention that they now provide the user with adjustable toggles, so you can actually tell it which level of efforts you could take, and that's actually important for developers.
Yeah. What do you think here, Paul?
I was on the opposite side. I mean, I think if you're already on the Claude Code bandwagon, like Alden and I and others are, this is exciting and everyday miracle, and what we're expecting from Anthropic. I think these are continued everyday miracles. I don't think this single release is sufficient for an AI leader to say switch models in a large deployment. I don't think this single release is a reason to drop your rollout to 5,000 employees for ChatGPT. I think the other case study we've talked about of using Claude Code as case studies, those are things to start using it, but not this particular release. So I was on the other side. It's definitely impressive. I agree with all your sentiments. It's really exciting, and Anthropic is definitely having a moment here, and we may see some very different market share 12 months from now.
Yeah, I just I think it's I hear you, Paul, but it's not. I mean, just because they read it doesn't mean they necessarily have to stop these other things, or they're. And I think anybody who's running an IT shop, the folks are going to be all over Claude Code.
It's a product announcement. I mean, we have impressive Chinese models that we say.
Yeah, but the Chinese don't have 30% and growing market share inside enterprises of IT.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the leading IT usage. It's the leading corporate usage. They're growing faster than anybody else inside the corporation. I think it's I think we're seeing the switch out. Plus, plus we've got, and you and I,
Everyone's agreeing. All the online audience is sheesh and
Like,
everyone else. So
or to understand this, in the last couple of days, literally every employee mine have threatened me that if I don't give them Claude code, then
Yeah.
they will like come to my desk.
all righty. All right.
I'm with Alden, Paul, and John. There are two horses currently, right? OpenAI and Anthropic, and they are really neck to neck almost. We'll be talking about what OpenAI is doing, right? So as a leader at an enterprise, you can't ignore that. And so if caught without knowledge of this is happening and how powerful this platform is, it's essential. They need to know that.
Yeah.
Right, but I just want to get the scale right. They're absolutely crushing it in software. But OpenAI has 900 million weekly users. I think Anthropic might have 50 or 80 coders, 50 million coders here. So it's not to say on B2C. Yeah.
I'd be willing to bet that they have that Claude has as many, if not more, paid users.
Again, it's anecdotal, but if you look at this women applying AI, 750 folks, a lot of them are working in Claude.
Yeah. And it's going beyond coding, Paul. It's going beyond coding.
Yeah.
By the end of this month, every employee of mine, whether you're in support, sales, marketing, anywhere, has to be a Claude code expert.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's really interesting. So I know you and I have been trading in messages online about all the same licenses. So will your employees all have licenses to Claude Code as well as ChatGPT?
Absolutely. Yesterday, I added like 5 more licenses. Today, I'll probably add like 3-4 more. The only thing not keeping pace is how quickly I can get them to expert level.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the only thing.
Yeah,
But
and we should note, in fairness to them, Claude on Excel is starting to really kick ass. They've got Claude Legals come out and Claude
PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Finance.
So
yeah,
for the business user, it is like the Claude Cowork and the Claude CLI. Those are the two main ones.
All right.
They're also specializing in certain industries. That is also very helpful, I think, to the enterprise.
All righty, we're going to go. Sorry.
So hang on, but Luda, we've got 5 customers we're working with about to roll out ChatGPT. Would you recommend that they stop rolling out ChatGPT and switch to Claude instead?
No, but they will, to Alden's point, they can't ignore this. So at some point, that horse might be actually better, and they will have to switch. So they can't go OpenAI only. It's just not. It's impossibility.
Yeah, I think the notion of standardizing on one is old style thinking. We're in an environment where you need to be able to have a number of models here. It's too early to commit to one platform. And I think you may never commit to it because knowledge is much, much more varied than, and cognitive work and knowledge is much more varied than the work that we're doing before. And the idea of one platform that's been pushed on us by vendors for the past 40 years is wrong, I think.
Yeah.
And John, I'm curious, Alden, I know we're going deep on this. John and I were the big customer yesterday, and we're getting to the point where we're encouraging, because they're using 4 tools, encourage them to train first on cross-tool thinking and cross-tool kind of almost a Word document, a library, your prompts. So as you go and move, you don't have everything just in one and have the higher switching costs. Because I imagine some of your salespeople, they've got a lot of GPTs already set up in ChatGPT.
That's going to become a problem. Yeah. Like some of your stuff will be in ChatGPT, but now you have Claude agents that you are working with, right? And then you have an MCP connector to HubSpot that they need to work with. All of those things are going to start coming into play.
Yeah, and orchestrated platforms, even though currently they're not very good, but they will come into play, and they will be able to automatically switch, not automatically, but as you tell them to switch to different things.
All right, we went deep on this. We're going to have to pick up the pace a little bit. Essential it is. Next article, please. So we've got OpenAI introducing their frontier environment. What do you think here, Alden?
I would mark it as essential. Like, I know back-to-back essentials, but I never bet against OpenAI, right? So this is a nice, like, they are bringing all the stuff related to agents into like one platform. And this is from an enterprise leader. This is like a must-have. I'm sure it's not going to make much noise on the personal side and the consumer side. But if you actually start working heavily inside the enterprise with agent, you see all these things like verification loops, latency part, cost management, security, right? Y'all all saw the open clause stuff and all the security noises. This frameworks will from OpenAI will help lock that down as such, make it enterprisey. So I haven't got a chance to like fully test this out and what it
Right.
means, but it's their version of like probably Claude Cowork plus more.
Sure.
Price.
So Paul, what'd you think?
I don't want to bet against OpenAI, and I don't want to bet against Alden, so I'll support Alden.
Today you're on your contrarian. You're even wearing a Boston Red Sox hat on the day that the Patriots
Super Bowl's coming up. I know I'm trying to do my TikTok thing. I'm getting a lot of crap for it, so I'm trying to get my branding consistent. But yes, I need to get into that.
Yeah, Pat's going to take it, I think. Anyway, Luda, what do you think?
Monique, if you can scroll to a little graphic that says OpenAI Frontier. Yeah, this one. So what they are talking about is essentially orchestrating data layer, the agent execution layer, and actually tooling it up, right? But this is a consulting arm of OpenAI coming to the front. So they are going to send people, very experienced people, to these companies to actually tool this up. And so they have started, but they have not finished. It's experimental, right? And it will evolve. So I read this announcement as okay, we are going to get this done. We're going to send our brightest people out there to enterprise. We'll tool it up, and then we'll sell it broadly. A very smart move. So I think people need to, meaning AI leaders need to know about it. So essential it is. I agree with Alden.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna rate this one essential. Okay. We get the next article, please, Monique. So we've got the GPT 5.3 Codex. This is a faster, more capable agent coding model that helps, in software development. Everything from debugging, research requirements, and of course, even was part of its own development. And then this is something. Well, the API is going to come later. The desktop and the command line interface and so forth is available now. And so I don't know. I was on the fence here between important and essential. So let me give it an important for now. But what do you think, Alden?
Yeah, I would give it important, mostly because OpenAI is going to catch up. They are not going to sit there taking it lying down from Claude, right? And then the other part is there are companies that have standardized on ChatGPT and OpenAI. So for them, they get like this poor cousin of Claude, right? It's sort of like getting Hulu, even though you have Netflix.
Okay. All right. Hulu to Netflix. What do you think, Luda?
I agree with Alden. Important. It's not. I mean, it's the next release. We should expect it. But I think it's not optional. It's an important category because people need to know about it.
Yeah. What do you think, Paul?
It's a product announcement, but important because it's OpenAI.
All right, important it is. Next, please.
Well, and lastly, John, I think we talked about earlier show. I think the Frontier Labs are going to have to decide, is having their own software AI an absolute critical build piece of their story going forward here, because they don't want to be like X and have Anthropic cut them off. So this may be an essential build for all the Frontier Labs because it's so critical to their advancement.
Yeah, a really interesting question. I strategically, I don't know how you are one of these labs and you don't have your own software environment. The other thing is, I think that the software environment, I do think, I forget, one of the pundits talked about, these Claude Code being the YouTube moment for knowledge work. And I think there's a lot of truth in that, in terms of what the ability to generate, both software and work product. Okay. Here's the next one. We have small scaling. So I'm going to give an import on that one. Small scaling agents. Let's see. I think, who do we have on this one?
I am.
We have Luda.
Yeah. So this is a very interesting paper about small models versus large models. This is Meta, and they've asked the question of essentially, can the small models do the same as large models as the task increases in complexity? And the answer is
John,
absolutely.
did I freeze at you?
Absolutely not. And so, and they've built this marketplace-inspired test time framework and evaluation criteria of how to evaluate these models. And they found that, so essentially it's a marketplace where the small models bid on a task, and they create a strategy of how they would implement the task. And then there's a rating system to evaluate how they did. And then the best one is executed, the best strategy is executed, and there is a mechanism of them to learn. I really liked the idea. I think this is where the future would go. They show great results. The problem is it's a research paper. It's a lot of formulas that they've put together. They evaluated it on a limited type of tasks. And so it's not yet ready to production. So I was between optional and important. Important because I think leaders need to know that this is it's cooking, but optional, you can't do anything about it. It's not even on GitHub. So the code hasn't been released. So probably optional at the end of the day.
Okay, optional, but super interesting. What do you think, Paul?
Optional.
Ankash? Sorry, Alden?
Yeah, I would put it optional too. But one thing to keep an eye out here is there's a lot of action now happening on the meta layer. So till now, only everybody's been talking about LLM, and now the action will move on to the meta layer, and that might have some good, impacts. Like if anybody remembers Intel versus mainframes, this is a sort of that moment.
And we were talking on the first article, Paul, about whether you switch to Claude or stay with this, right? This type of orchestration might come to fruition, right? And it will be task related rather than overall platform related.
Yeah, I was leaning toward important, even though it is a theoretical paper right now and only implemented, because this is the first one I've seen that has market-based allocation of agents to solve a problem. And I think that's a completely different animal. And when we think about, I believe that IT as a percent of revenue is going to double over the next decade. So if you're spending 3% now, you're going to spend 6% or more. If you're spending 7%, you're going to spend 15%, because AI is going to automate more of the cognitive processes, which is going to go from marginal cost to capital cost. Is going to end up on the balance sheet, and so I think, and then amortized, and so there's going to be a tremendous pressure to do value engineering on that cost. And I think the idea that we could have a market coordination mechanism where agents could bid to do jobs inside and across organizations is profound. Anyway, so that's why I was tempted to make it important, because this to me is going to have, I think, a couple of years from now, 24 months from now, this is going to be a massive architectural issue about how do you deal with the token explosion inside your organization. And
I agree with you, John, and it's optimizing on performance and cost, and showing that this formula of evaluating these agents actually works to optimize on that. So if nothing else, you can take that formula and implement it in your agent architecture. So it has value already. You can't just take it. You'll have to work at it.
Fundamentally, we're going from hierarchies to markets in a lot of these things, and those markets may be inside organizations. And when that happens, you have profound competitive impacts on price, availability, and capability. Anyway, I'm going to give this an important. I know. I think. Well, Paul, where are you? You're going to be
optional.
You are.
I'll pass on this one, John, but I do want to highlight, you made a really important point that I want to emphasize. You talked about percent of revenue going to IT.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about organizations moving to human plus robots, this blended organization here. We kicked off the call with Alden talking about how now he's paying for Claude licenses for all employees in addition to that. So Alden, I think, is a really good microcosm where the future is. He's paying more per employee on technology, you know, because he's getting more productivity out of that, and he's moving the model where he's seeing the ROI for equipping his employees with multiple robots and happily is justifying the ROI.
Right. And also getting organizational pressure, as you said, you know, as people are going to hang him in effigy or burn him in effigy if, you know, he doesn't give them these tools. And so, yeah, I just think, and then, you know, there's talk in Silicon Valley now about new pricing model is labor on demand, right? Is what they're trying to extend the SaaS model to be. Hey, look, you can buy expertise or labor on demand from these robots, right? And you know why they're doing that is to try to get to a higher price point of variable cost where they can do volume-based pricing and to get into the IT budget, get into the part of the budget that's human, that's, you know, that you're paying people, right? They're trying to expand the where they can get the money from on the P&L.
Yeah. And Jen, the last thing is, imagine someone works at your company for 12 months. For whatever reason, they leave. Now they're interviewing. The interview of a company that only has Copilot.
Yeah,
He's got to pass.
Yeah.
Yeah, immediately you just go out the door.
Well, I think actually what's going to happen is their Moltbot is going to, which they're running at home, is going to come back and start arguing with them about why they should leave custom GPT.ai and go someplace else. But that's not, because they've already negotiated, the Moltbot's already negotiated a new contract someplace. Anyway, all right, gonna get this one important. Next. Okay, we have agent observability powers agent evaluation, a thought piece from our friends at LangChain, who generally are pretty lightweight in the thought piece. But interesting, you know, a little bit meatier here. Excuse me a second. Hey, I got to get my dog to stop barking here. So what this does, it basically says, hey, look, what you want to do when you do agent evaluations, you have to have a longitudinal look at how it behaves over time, and gives a nice framework for thinking about how to do that. You know, this notion, if you're going to evaluate an agent, right, you can profile it, you can interrogate it, as we saw in the last one. It can even make an estimate as to what the cost is going to be before the fact, you know, before it executes on something. But you know, at the same time, you do need some kind of framework to think through how you're going to evaluate those agents. That was on the border between optional and important on this thing. I do think it's been one of the better pieces of thought leadership from LangChain. I thought a little meatier, you know, decent framework, decent argument how to do it, and so forth. But I think I'm coming down on optional on this notion. Conceptually, absolutely true, but I don't see this particular thought piece as something that big a deal. I don't know. What do you think, Alden?
Optional, yeah. Even I was somewhere between optional and important, but given that it's LangChain, I go towards optional, right? Yeah, it is. They make a good point, right? LangChain is these days making their money from traceability. And the first thing to trace was an LLM call. Like, you know, what was the LLM call? What was the response? Did it hallucinate? So that's where they made their money initially on Langsmith, right? This takes it to the slightly next level where now if the whole action is in the agent reasoning, then you want to be sitting there observing the reasoning. Like, why did the agent do this? Why did the agent do that? Right? So if anybody who's working on agents, like serious agents that can be traceable, that can be verifiable, right? This will become a big deal. I don't know whether people will use Langsmith, or my favorite is actually a Langsmith competitor called Langfuse, right? But this whole concept of traceability is very important for people working on enterprise grade agents.
Yes, absolutely. Paul?
Same.
Optional. Luda, where are you on this?
Essential.
Wow,
Really?
excellent.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, seriously, I agree with Alden. It doesn't have to be LangChain, but the whole world is going agents and agents orchestration and want to see what agents are doing. So this breaks it down into, is it singleton, multi-turn, whatever turn, and actually what you're observing, how you want to observe it, how do you want to improve it. It's really going down into very understandable chunks that I will forward this article to many people, developers and technical and non-technical, because it provides a framework and delves into this in a very approachable manner. So I think it's critical for people to adopt something like that, and tools, they can do LangChain or other tools, but the whole framework is critically important. You have to know what these agents are doing.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, I think there are some other models. I think this is, or some other contributions in this area. I do agree that, it's conceptually sharper than some of the other things, where you say, hey, we have to trace it, or, we have to make sure that we understand what the runs look like, what the threads look like through the thing, and okay, I'll give it an important use.
Okay.
Sounds good. We'll elevate to important here. And then the last one is, is software going away. And our friend Sanofsky says, nah, we're not going to see the death of software. What do you think, Alden?
Yeah. So this article I would put as like optional, but the concept is something that many people over the last couple of days have done. First, it was A16Z.
Yeah.
Then a couple of days ago, it was Dharmesh who said like, hey, no, vibe coding is not going to replace HubSpot.
Yeah.
I posted on my LinkedIn too, like, we have spent like now over 100,000 engineering hours building an enterprise grade RAG, and
Right.
I don't think somebody is going to vibe code that in like an hour.
Yeah.
Right? So there are so many things that go into like enterprise grade software, like security and all sorts of maintenance and decisions, and like we are not there yet where somebody like Claude Code or whoever will just make those decisions for us.
Yeah, I'm reminded of The Mythical Man Month by Fred Brooks, the guy who did Operating System 360 for IBM, which was the second, but certainly the most popular cross machine operating system back in the 1960s. And he almost bankrupted IBM building that operating system. And he wrote a book called The Mythical Man Month, basically as his justification to Thomas Watson Jr., who was the CEO at the time, as to why it almost bankrupted the company. He had this point that if you create a working piece of software, let's call that work 1x. If you integrate it with other pieces of software, that's 3x. And then if you go commercial grade from individual use to commercial grade, that's 3x. And those two sets of 3x actually interact and multiply each other. So if you get something working on your desktop for you, making it a commercial grade integrated into other stuff is 9 times the work of whatever it took you to do. And I think Brooks' law still exists.
Oh, totally.
Right. Anyway, but it's such an old book, nobody reads it anymore. So you can seem smart by just, regurgitating.
John answered a book. People don't read books anymore.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
But history repeats itself.
It's a text.
Yeah. No, I mean, that whole thing about, commercial, just as you said, Alden, commercial grade is completely different than I can use it on my desktop. And the other thing is the interaction and the complexity of the interaction environment's going up, not down. So that number might actually go up. Anyway, Luda, what do you think of this article?
Optional. I think it's an interesting piece that goes and looks at the various historical moments of how PCs came about, retail came about. So it's an interesting parallels, but optional. I think I don't think leaders should. I mean, there's no time really to think.
Read articles. What do you think, Paul?
I'm threadbare in these type of articles. I mean, I think we're talking about task automation, which has been radically changed. Software's not going away. OpenAI continues to spend over $1 million per software development because they're so critical here. So task automation is changing. We no longer pay $100 per blog post because that's not there, and we no longer pay junior engineers to do simple tasks. So, and every company is now going to become a software company because they're managing robots. They need a roadmap. They need the traditional thinking of software. So, this whole notion, I find it annoying.
Yeah. Okay.
Optional.
Yeah, we can give this an optional. I mean, there are lots of other things. Right after, I think we talked about this yesterday. Right after Xerox declared the paperless office, that's when paper consumption went like this because everybody leaving printers. I was at a conference in San Francisco back about 7 years ago when they first announced self-driving. Everyone was like, oh, the number of drivers is going to go away. Driver demand went like this because the micro deliveries of Uber and everybody else. They can't get enough drivers. So the intuition that just because you can automate one piece in a system means that piece is going to disappear from the system is really the wrong way to think about it. Okay. Anyway. All right. Long-winded way of saying optional. All right. If we get a tote board, please. All right. We got 2 essentials, 3 importance, and 1 optional. Very big day, especially in development and enterprise AI. It's fantastic. Luda, any announcements?
No, not today, but happy Friday.
Walden, anything?
No, happy Friday, and just let's all try and keep pace and not get burned out.
Yeah, right. Surf, don't swim against the wave, surf with them. All right. We're going to have a great weekend, everybody, and look forward to seeing you all Monday morning, bright and early East Coast time. Bye-bye now.